Welcome to episode 48 of FTCE Seminar, a teacher certification podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Musto. In today's episode, I'll be talking with Dr. Sudduth about something very important to me in education, and that's music. Dr. Sudduth has 26 years of experience in music education, and we're so glad to have you on today's podcast. Welcome on, Dr. Sudduth.
Well, thank you very much, Mercedes. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'd like to start with an article I read on LinkedIn by Polyvinyl about the significance of music for the youth. This article stated that 66% of people ages 18 to 34 consider music important in their lives. But it's not just for entertainment, but also for their personal well-being. One person from this article expressed the following sentiment. They said, "If there was no music, a part of me would be missing." You know, I asked you here today because I fundamentally agree with the statement that without music, something would be missing. To me, this is why music education is so important. And I think this is a great place to start, Dr. Sudduth. So let me ask you this. Let's talk a little bit about you growing up. What was your experience as a music student? And, hey, what instrument do you play?
Well, it started in the first grade when my mother hauled me off to start learning to play the piano. It was a lot of fun. Actually, I enjoyed it a lot. And then when I got into the schools in first and second grade, we had a band one time come by to play for the schools, and everybody was playing all the instruments. And then when we went back to our class, the teacher went down the row saying, "What do you want to play? And what do you want to play?" And they'd say trumpet, flute, drums, saxophone. And it got down to me because my last name is an S, and they set us in alphabetical order, and I was towards the end. It got to me, and I thought, no one said the trombone. So I said trombone, and that has made all the difference.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, that brings me to, can you share some personal experiences with skill development? And what are the traits and daily habits of a successful musician? What do you do?
Well, patience is one thing. It takes time. It's like growing a crop. It takes a while to do this. And you'll grow it, and you'll continuously, unlike a crop, it never stops. And with music, you'll just keep getting better, and you'll find some more things. But it takes patience and perseverance. It also takes good coaching, so you need someone to help guide you through all this. And it takes, you have to go through some challenges, like, for instance, frustration. And I meet with a lot of students who get very frustrated. And I have found over the years that I say embrace that, because frustration is very important. It usually means that you know what you want to get, but you can't achieve it. And normally, I believe that frustration is the moment before breakthrough. So it's a warning saying, don't give up, because a lot of people will give up. And I say, no, frustration is good, because you're about to achieve something. So it takes patience and practice and coaching and practice, and a lot of practice. But that's the golden part of music. It's a lifelong skill.
Oh, yeah, you mentioned coaching. So I'm going to take on to that. So I believe in the importance of mentors and coaching. Who were some of your role models, and how did they influence you, and how?
Well, we're talking about music. I think when I was going through my master's and doctoral programs, and at this point, you're so technically thinking, and you're trying to play the most demanding, hardest pieces. But these particularly set of people that came into my life are heavily influential on the human aspect of it. And like this one case where this person was very concerned because as a starving college musician, which is very true in my case, I was kind of skin and bones kind of person. I remember this story where my professor took me out shopping with his 2-year-old kid, the one that likes to scream no and you can't stand being around him. And he says, "I need you to help babysit him because I want to go shopping." So we had 2 carts, and he put his son in my cart so I could roam around. And he says, "Everything I'm going to put in my cart will be for him. I don't want him to touch it. And everything I'm going to put in your cart is going to be for us that I don't want him to grab." So I said, okay. And so we go through the shopping line. He fills both of them up really big. And then we go to the checkout line, and I go through first. And when I go through, he says, "Now that's yours. And I want you to start eating better and getting better and be healthier. And I need you to perform like that." And so he really taught me about caring and about my well-being is very important in the process of music. And so I started to incorporate that aspect that we need to be humans, we got to be people, and he showed a lot of love and comfort in doing that. And I never forgot that, and it had high impacts on my teaching since then.
That really resonates with me because here we have on one side students who say music is the most important thing, and it's not just for entertainment, it's for their well-being. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side, we have the musician who, like yourself, is learning positive self-care. And so, maybe there's some reciprocal value there. Thank you for sharing that. As a, moving from student to music education director, what is one lesson in your career that you've learned that you think everyone should learn at some point on their path?
Well, if you're going to be successful, pretty much at anything, but specifically with music or music education, you're going to deal with a lot of people. And so to do that, you're going to mentor them, and you're going to stay focused with them, and you're going to care about them because you're probably going to see them more in some cases than maybe their parents, and you'll have much more interactions with them. Well, it's going to take a sacrifice. So the first I tell students is, what are you going to wish to sacrifice? A lot of times it's going to be your family life or your personal times. And this can be done to a great extent. However, you have to maintain balance to that. So I say sacrifice and balance. So yes, you're going to give a lot of yourself to others because you care, and music is that. I think music is life, is my philosophy. It is part of living. And as you were mentioning earlier, but you want people to enjoy that, but you'll sacrifice a lot of yourself, and it will spread into your own personal and family time. It's okay to a point because that's kind of expected, but you got to balance that. And so you have to then also continue to nurture your personal life and your family life and your interests outside of just music education. So sacrifice and balance, they've got to go together.
That is well said. I think you're pretty much ready for another question I have for you.
Oh, okay.
Before we wrap it up,
Yeah.
and I'm really glad that you got to drop by the studio today, do you have any, because you had a lot of good advice, but do you have any words of wisdom you would like to share with our listeners, especially those aspiring to become music educators or future musicians?
Well, I say don't be either. I love the concept of the teacher-musician. You're both one and the same. And that if you're going to be a musician, you can be really, really good. People are going to look up to you. They're going to watch what you do. They're going to want to take lessons with you. They're going to want to follow you. They're going to be part of you. And as a teacher, you have to be a musician. There is no difference between the two. I do not see a teacher or a musician. Please be both. Please understand the role that music plays in people's life. Teach it, but teach music. Music is your medium to teach. And if you're a musician, do teach that because they go together. So be the teacher-musician.
Oh, man. I feel inspired. I want to thank Dr. Sudduth for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's been my pleasure to work with you and learn from you this semester. Just going to do a little shout out there. It's been very excellent. I also want to thank our listeners today, especially those who are following their calling, whether it's music, dance, art, math, or like me, journalism and English. Remember that as we were inspired by a special teacher, ultimately we go on to inspire our students. And in a deeper sense, we are the teachers who are always paying it forward. This is your host, Mercedes Musto. Join me again on FTCE Seminar, a teacher certification podcast. This podcast was recorded at the Pickens Multimedia Studio at the University of West Florida. This podcast is listener supported, and contributions can be made via the listener support link on Spotify, or hey, you can buy me a coffee at ftceseminar.com.